Welcome back to Press Review. Let's start by taking a look at today's front pages in the Middle East. Israel's Jerusalem Post leads its front page reporting that the Knesset Special Committee dealing with legislation on ultra-Orthodox enlistment approved a general reduction in military service for men from 36 months to 32. The paper also reports that efforts are underway to organise a visit to Latin America by Prime Minister Netanyahu in April, with travel to Mexico and Colombia aimed at bolstering economic and political ties. From Turkey, Hurriyet Daily News front page leads reporting that an Istanbul court has rejected an indictment against members of the main activist group behind last year's nationwide anti-government Gezi protests, on the ground that the indictment failed to state which laws the suspects had violated. The paper also reports that the EU has expressed concerns over Turkey's new internet bill that has sparked criticism from both the opposition and actors abroad following a meeting with Turkish ministers in Brussels. Lebanon's Daily Star reports on Syria's government and opposition sitting down for their first face-to-face talks this month on the second day of a new round of rocky peace negotiations. The paper also reports the UN Refugee Agency has said that Syrian authorities are holding and questioning more than 300 men deemed of fighting age who fled the besieged rebel-held old city of Homs during an agreed ceasefire. Egypt Independent reports on Cairo Criminal Court deciding to postpone the trial of former President Hosni Mubarak, his two sons Alaa and Gamal, and his Interior Minister Habib al-Adli, and 6 of his top aides until the 8th of March. The paper also reports that thousands of Mahalla Spinning and Weaving Company protesters have resumed their strike and sit-in, demanding the minimum wage be applied, and Fuad Abdul Alim, chief of the holding company for spinning and weaving, be dismissed. Now let's take a look at the top headlines from UK papers. The Times dedicates its front page today to the flooding crisis, reporting that the Thames River burst its tanks, flooding up to 1,000 homes and transforming towns and villages into lagoons. The paper says that more heavy rain is expected this week, with the Met Office forecasting up to 70 millimetres. The Daily Telegraph also leads today with the flooding crisis, reporting that the Environment Agency Chairman, Lord Smith, has raised further criticism after he suggested that flooded residents were partly to blame for their problems by choosing to live in high-risk regions. The paper also reports that women are being strongly warned during counselling sessions at so-called independent clinics that an abortion could lead to serious health damage, and also reports that a new research suggests that almost 2 million children have been contacted by strangers on the internet, often without their parents knowing. The Guardian also leads with the flooding, reporting that David Cameron has ordered his feuding cabinet ministers to put an end to infighting and sniping at the Environment Agency, as alarms spread in government about the potential scale of serious flooding along the Thames Valley later this week. The paper also reports that Education Secretary Michael Gove has agreed to meet 17-year-old student Fahma Mohammed following a Guardian-backed petition demanding action to end the female genital mutilation. And lastly, from the UK, The Independent dedicates its front page to the NHS, reporting that NHS bosses allowed a lobbying company working for some of the world's biggest drug and medical equipment firms to write a draft report which could help shape future health policy. The paper also features a picture of American designer Diane von Furstenberg, who gives an exclusive interview to the paper. Now let's take a look at the top stories in international papers. China's Global Times leads its front page reporting that a 3-month crackdown on the sex trade in entertainment venues in South China's Guangdong province was announced shortly after a television expose revealed the extent of the prostitution business in local hotels. The paper also reports that Chinese mainland and Taiwan officials are to hold first official meetings in 65 years. Russia's Moscow Times leads, reporting that security concerns over terrorist attacks have declined since the Sochi Winter Olympics kicked off this weekend, and visitors say they have not been inconvenienced by security measures despite the presence of thousands of law enforcement officers. It also reports that overcoming Russia's logistical barriers has become the focus for many leading domestic e-commerce companies who are less concerned with slashing prices than with growing a loyal customer base. And finally, the international New York Times leads today reporting that Bosnia's most widespread anti-government protests in almost 2 decades shut down the centre of Sarajevo and affected 5 other cities as demonstrators vented their anger at politicians whom they view as self-serving and corrupt. The paper also reports on the narrow vote in Switzerland to reimpose limited immigration, saying that European officials have warned Switzerland that it would pay a steep price for its vote to limit the flow of workers across its borders. And for more updates, please visit Levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.